talk show where we, a bunch of friends, gather together and talk on some tech topics, right? Cool. So what if I told you in this episode, we're gonna educate you as to how you can make your existing web application have a similar and user experience indistinguishable from that of a native application. Right? Sounds fun. So all you have to do is add a service broker, a manifest JSON file, few logos, and voila, your web application is now installable as a progressive web app. Well, and I'm sure you've guessed based on my introduction, the topic that we're going to be covering this episode is PWA, that is progressive web apps. And to help discuss on this topic and give more insights, I'm here joined by my beloved friends. We have Arindam and Tarun. Hi guys, thank you for thank you for joining us here.
Yeah.
Awesome. So progressive web applications, right? Sure, let's get started. So can you please tell me what are PWA? Arindam.
So as you already told, like PWA stands for Progressive Web App, right? Now, if you look how as web evolved over the years, and like website really needed performance improvement, and every time it's not possible for you to write down a native or a cross-platform mobile application.
Okay.
So to give you a context about what a PWA is in a single word, it would be something like which sort of comes behind, comes in between your mobile application and your web application. So it's a website end of the day with a set of characters which you can basically install in your mobile device.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So basically, if you have an existing website, you can make it installable.
Correct.
You can install it on your phone.
Correct.
Right. Awesome. So what are the benefits of PWA? Can you please tell me some benefits of it, like as to why?
So there are two side of benefits you can say. So one is like you can take, check it from the technology standpoint. The other one is from the business standpoint, right?
Okay.
Now from the tech standpoint, right, the first thing is it's a single code base. So
Exactly.
you write the code once, you deploy it in multiple places.
Okay.
The second thing is it could be like for many time, right? You say for example, if you are an emerging early stage startup, it's not really possible to use to sort of invest in mobile teams separately, right? So that sort of makes your work very easier. And the other thing which I personally believe makes a lot of sense for PWAs are say for example for an early stage startup or for a small company where you would like to go live within a limited time, right? So that is a very good use case of a PWA.
Basically, time to market is cut down
Correct.
by a margin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I want to know, where does PWA lie between web application and mobile application? Because essentially the goal is you're already taking an existing website and converting it into an application, right? So where does it lie between web applications and native mobile applications? Can you please jump in that a bit?
Yeah. So as we have already said, that it's a PWA, which means it's a web app, and we will. It's basically a web app which is installable in the mobile.
Yeah.
But the main advantages are whatever in the mobile we get contact access, geolocation. These can be easily installable or easily integratable in a progressive web app. So that's where it lies. It's not completely native and it's not completely a web app on the website. Yeah. So how is it compares from a normal web
website?
app?
Yeah.
Right.
Normal website and mobile. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So first, it's as we have already mentioned, we use a single code base, which means we have covered most of the platforms. Correct. Here, that's where it lies in between a web app, which that's what it is, right?
Correct. So on addition to that, you can think of something like, say for example, you are gonna build an MVP, right? Not a complete app. Like say for example, take an use case of an Uber and Uber Lite, right?
Okay.
So as a user, say I will be only using Uber Lite when I am from in an interior zone where my network is not so strong, or rather I would not be able to use the full-fledged application because of maybe network stability or some other constraints. So yeah, the point being it's a part of your mobile application where the major parts has been covered. Right? Say for example, if you are building something called an MVP, right? So that is a very good use case of an the PWA. But again, say for example, you are gonna build a full-fledged application, so that is something you need more attention on, and probably and native or cross-platform mobile applications. So that's where that's how basically it sort of bridges the gap between, or I would say it stands out from your web app and your mobile app differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's insightful. Okay, so I would like to make it more cleaner and have a more clarity. Okay, if I want to ask a question, I have an application, I have a mobile application ready. Okay, it is live, and I have a web application also, which is live.
Yeah.
Okay, why should I put the effort to make my website a PWA? Why?
Yeah. So you said that we already have a native mobile app and a web app as well.
Yeah, I already
yeah.
have a good website
Yeah.
up and running.
So
I already
we-
have a good native app. Why would
Yeah.
I want to invest in making my website a PWA?
So we can explain this better using maybe a Twitter app. So Twitter
Okay.
has a native mobile app, a website, and also a Twitter Lite app, which is a PWA. Right.
Okay.
So if we ask the question in this scenario, why do we need Twitter Lite in the first place?
Mhm.
So first, one of the major reasons will be the low data consumption. So
Okay.
Twitter Lite uses way less data as compared to Twitter mobile native app for both iOS and Android. And it's a mobile wrapped app, it's a web browser wrapped app, which means the updates will be on the fly, whatever the updates will be. And it's, again, the data consumption is less. Along with that, the memory consumption is also less
Okay.
in the storage.
Okay.
Yeah. We have also noticed that apps like Twitter and Uber has it's way too large for a mobile app in last coming years. It has grown into several hundred MBs, right? So it drastically reduces that. So that's where it comes into picture. The Twitter Lite app, if we have both native app and a website.
So if you're speaking from technical
So
perspective,
one more
Yeah.
addition to that is like
Hmm.
say for example on a recent study like it shows on around of 20% of global smartphone users
Yeah.
does not use a single has not install a single mobile application every month.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
a huge number, right? So
Yeah.
the other point and
untapped
like
market, huge untapped market.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah. And then for example, like for me also personally, say if I wanna check something,
Uh-huh.
I would not essentially be installing the application from the Play Store or App Store, right? Rather, I will be inserting it like the like website URL, and I'll go through the website,
Okay.
right? So that does make more sense when you talk about user experience, right? So for example, if
Yeah.
your website takes more time to load, like say for example, if your web page does not get loaded in less than 3 seconds, your LCP score get like affected a lot. And
Okay.
on altogether,
Could you please explain what LCP score
so
is?
LCP stands for largest contentful paint,
Okay.
which is basically the largest element in your web page, right? So, for
Okay.
example, you are loading a website.
Uh-huh.
So, essentially, the largest element in the web page could be your banner image or hero image, right? Or
Okay.
if you are using some animation or videos, right?
Mhm.
So that is called LCP. So, as long time the LCP will take time to load, so that will be, affecting. Much will be the LCP score, correct? So essentially, like ideally, like if your like LCP score is less than 3 seconds, your website performs well. And in
Okay.
mobile device, your for maybe network limitations for any other things, like the load time usually is higher than your extra version of web. So that's where PWA comes really handy, especially for giving users a great experience.
Okay. Also, I think so. Yeah. yeah,
One
what
more
I-
reason
Yeah.
where we can implement a PWA,
Mhm.
given that we have both. So Twitter in 2017, when they launched Twitter Lite, they saw a massive surge in the number of tweets.
Okay.
Approximately like 70 to 75% of increase in the number of tweets
Okay.
just by launching Twitter Lite. And also the page session where the user clicks on a page or stays on a page, even that was increased by around 60%. Not only that, the user stays on the page.
Retention of
retention,
huh.
even that was increased by around like
Mm.
the stat says around 20%.
Okay.
So even though they had both of the apps, in integrating one more light feature caps a bigger market.
Okay.
So that's one major advantage from a business perspective.
Those are some really interesting stats, by the way.
Right.
I didn't know there was such a huge untapped market even after having native apps. Like I did not know. Yeah, good. But then also, you're also saving on revenue, right? Because if you're
Yeah.
using a web app, if you're using a progressive web app and you're bypassing the App Store or the Play Store, you're saving effectively about around 30% of your revenue because you don't have to provide with the.
Correct. Yeah,
Provide
that
as
you
well.
are, but then that is, I would rather say a different aspect of it, and that
Okay.
really does depend on your business criteria. Like, say, for
Okay.
example, if you are developing a banking application, right?
Mhm.
Although you have an existing website for it,
Mhm.
you would not probably be
Using
developing a
a
PWA,
PWA.
right? So it depends on your requirement, but yeah, if you are an early stage like startup, or you are, if say like you are sort of budget, and then you wanna launch a full-fledged or like at least 80% of the working app, then PWA is a great option.
Okay, awesome. So now suppose if I am inspired by this, I and Tarun came up with an amazing business idea.
We should come up someday.
yeah, it's a possibility with the amount of things we
Yeah.
see. Okay, so what if I went ahead and we both made a web application, right? And then we would think, okay, chalo, PWA, let's try. Then the reasons why PWA would be handy that time is because single code base, right? All I have to do is a single
Which is one
web
of the major
And since both of us,
advantage.
are you back? Since both of us,
I'm
so,
a friend.
yeah, friend. Okay. So in case if we don't have the technical knowledge of iOS developer or a native Android developer, we can extend web apps to
we can launch in the market at the least possible time.
Also, we'll be saving revenue because we don't have to pay the resale. Awesome. And from technical aspect, I think so. Also, it helps. Even if you don't have a business requirement, it would be beneficial to make your website a PWA because it enhances your website more, right? User experience in general. Your web app will also go higher because your lighthouse score will improve, right? All those nitty-gritties which are
so lighthouse is
performance measuring
metric,
right?
So altogether it gives you the altogether the score for your core web vitals, right? So LCP is a part of core web vitals that I was talking about. So essentially yes.
Okay, well this has got me excited. Okay, so next time the business idea that we've come up with, I'm very much sure let's go at it. Okay, let's go and make a PWA. But I always have a habit of jumping too soon. I'm sure there are some downsides to it. Why I should not use PWA, that is also something I should do a bit of research on, right? So I think so you being expert could please guide me into as to why I should try avoiding PWA. As you told, banking applications would not be a perfect fit for my business idea. So if I have a business idea X and I want to go for it, all these things are quite exciting and intriguing, right? But that I want to know the full story. Okay, there's always a yin to the yang. So please, why should I? Are there any things that I should consider as to why not to go for a PWA?
So it always comes down to your use case and your how do you want to use the app, how the user will use it, and the complexity of the app. So let me break down this. So let's say we want to make an app which is very, very much performant and we want the 100% or we want the maximum hardware potential. Let's say that's our app idea, and let's say we want to have that requirement. In that case, the PWA might not be the best choice. Why? Because it doesn't take the use of the hardware provided to its maximum goal. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's a web browser web app. Right? Any native app will beat in terms of performance as compared to a PWA. So that's one of the major business
performance hit is a major criteria.
Is a major concern. And second disadvantage, I would say that as Apple is the major disadvantage here.
Oh yeah, I don't think so. Apple does not support PWA as of now, right? So that's a huge market that you're giving away.
Yeah. Also, Apple and iOS is like a major market in the mobile or operating system industry. So if we are not covering that, we are taking a huge hit on our market base and our total business in general. So that won't be a great idea if you are launching with PWA. And the other thing will be if our application requires us to scale up and down quite frequently. In that case, we think that PWA won't cut it off, right? Because scaling takes a hit. That's one more disadvantage here. And one final disadvantage will be the native feel it's not there. It's a web browser, right? So the animation, interaction, and everything, it won't be native feel, right? In iOS and Android, we can feel the apps are quite consistent as we use different apps. In a day, a user uses like more than 5 to 7 apps. They want the maximum apps to be consistent. So we have seen the iOS apps are consistent in terms of UI and the feel. So that won't cut it because the PWA is a web browser.
Correct.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's it.
So I think he covered almost everything. Yeah.
So now that we know the entire points, let's come to the implementation of it. Okay, now I'm ready. I'm done. I'm sold. Okay, let's make my existing web app PWA. Cool. So how would I go about it? What are the components?
So there are majorly three things how you can make your existing application, web application to PWA, right? So one thing is service worker, so which essentially takes care of the caching, like say for example, caching and push notification, stuff like that. So the major idea of making your website to a PWA is to improve the response time, right? I mean essentially the page loading time. So that's where you need your service worker to be there to sort of enable catch and push notifications and other sort of things. Second thing is your manifest.json file.
It also helps to enable your application run offline, right?
Correct. Yeah. Caching. I mean that's where caching comes into. Correct. So the other thing is like you have a manifest.json. I mean you should have a manifest.json file, which essentially sort of a metadata you can say. So it has all the icons, all the assets that you are using inside that file. And the third thing is the logos. Like you have to define a logo, which will be essentially your launcher icon for the application when you install it. So these three are the steps. Apart from that, say if you are using any framework and you were trying to choose an existing template for PWA. Say suppose you are creating a React application with Create React app, and you are choosing PWA template, it will automatically scaffold the project with these things, right? With the service worker implemented, with the manifest.json implemented. The same thing is pretty much I think happens in Angular or in Vue as well. So that's how you can essentially convert your existing web app to a PWA app.
Yeah. On top of that, we can add many things that Service Worker provides. Maybe a device motion, maybe geolocation.
Right, yeah. So also, all the native features, not all, I would say like a large number of native features that are provided, you will be able to access it. Like
using the navigator, right? If I'm not wrong, using the navigator instance, you'll be able which is provided by the browser, you can get access to the contacts, the motion, the sensors are provided on the device, and the geolocation, geofencing, so on for it. Yeah. Also, I think so in the like if you want to add a custom landing page to a particular you want to direct it to a particular landing page on your
custom shortcuts.
You can add custom shortcuts.
Yeah, so which is like a native feature and not possible in a web app. We can add those shortcuts like when we hold an app, we are greeted with like 3 or 4 shortcuts that's provided in the app. So we can do that in PWA. Also, there's something on a sharing target. So we have noticed, let's say we want to share an image. We go to gallery, we press share, and we can see our contacts in a specific app. Let's say WhatsApp or let's say Snapchat. We can see their images and the app logo in there. So we can directly share to a specific contact. So this is provided by the app itself, which is known as sharing target. So that's also that also can be done using the PWA, which is almost a native implementation. It's almost a native feature, right? That can be done in PWA.
Correct, yeah. So the idea is, I mean, it is your mobile application again. I mean, of course, it's not a mobile app end of the day, like from a developer standpoint. But as an end user, when I'm using, like say, for example, I don't belong to tech world, right? I do some, like retail business or something. Then doesn't really matter to me by which language the application is written, right? End of the day, user experiences was what I care about as an end user. So yeah, almost like a lot of things that you can do in a native or a cross-platform mobile application, you can do the pretty much same thing in the PWA as well.
So implementation is quite fair enough. I think so. It's not as tricky as I once thought. So basically 3 major things, right? And then also I think.
And also one more additional thing here is that if you look at like the code base, the maintenance of the code base is much easier in a PWA because what happens in a cross-platform application, like cross-platform application are obviously harder to maintain than a native because in native, like say you have only the Android module or the iOS module and you are taking care of that. But think about a cross-platform application where you have to take care of both, and then again. In the meantime, like there are some platform specific scenarios or feature which you have to write code on the corresponding native modules, right? Like say for example, if you are using Flutter, some package on Flutter, there are some packages which does not by default are supported by the native platforms. So you have to go to the folder specific things like iOS and Android folder specific places and then write your codes to be able to support it out. So those things are comparatively easier in PWA because end of the day you are writing a web application. The rest of apart from these 3 things, manifest file and your service worker, rest of the things is as it is we're writing say like JavaScript application or a React or a Vue application. So no change on that.
Okay. So cool. So now that I know basics of how we can convert a web app to PWA, let's dive in a bit more. Okay. So service worker, basically service worker, if I'm not wrong, is basically a JSON file, right? Which will handle all, as it told, GS file, which will handle all my caching and make
it's an additional thread you can compare.
But then also instead of me writing a custom, we can use other libraries like Workblock, right? There are other libraries, they have CLI tools and everything which will automate, which will make the process of making a service worker easier. And manifestation file, as you've explained, all the shortcuts and all are to be written in this particular file.
Manifest file.
Yeah, so the whole app metadata and other functionality that you want to add about the data, about the application, you would mention in the manifestation file.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Also app icon, shortcuts, and
Cool.
things.
That sounds fun. Awesome. So now PWA in respective with to other technologies, right? I want to know comparison with respect to what like iOS and native apps, right? And web apps. So and then would you like to jump into those? If I want to compare PWA with these particular three, where would they stand? How would they go?
Okay. So as I'm saying, repeatedly that PWA is not a mobile app that you have to understand as a developer, right?
Okay.
The second thing is when it comes to native application and when it comes to user experience, I mean, nothing can beat that. Like if you are using if you are developing an app in native platforms, the user experience is like at a top notch, and that's why all these teams have I mean, like year after year, like they fund it, they run the campaigns, and they hire a lot of good developers, right? With a lot of money, of course. So that is one point. The second thing is cross-platform. Like now, think about a cross-platform application has to be a complete end-to-end mobile application. The things that you can achieve in a native application, you can achieve almost everything in a cross-platform applications as well. But in an PWA, there is an limitation. Like say for example, as you mentioned earlier, right? So if Apple does not provide, give you the authority to publish it in the App Store because that does not go with their like user experience policy.
Okay.
The other thing is like in Apple, like in iPhone, you won't be able to see the launcher icon as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Apart from that, like you can't probably send a push notification also in iPhone.
In
Whether you
iPhone,
can send a push notification in Android,
It is
you can
possible to
publish
send.
in Play Store as well.
Yeah.
It does change to some other name, right? So
PWG
or something.
TWA. It's known as TWA once we
Once you
push
play-
it.
Okay,
Also
so
application.
what is TWA? Let's actually give a short, brief intro of what TWA is.
So it's just when we package a PWA and push it into a Google Play Store. Yeah, it can be installed just like a normal
application.
Yeah.
It will basically
That's-
install
yeah.
with the
It
APK
basically,
file.
so TWA basically closes the gap between web and native platforms even more than what a PWA does.
Yeah.
Gives a more.
But then again, the
it-
limitations exist there as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like it's just a terminology.
Yeah.
Okay.
But after pushing it, we are push because Google Play Store has all the compliances and all the rules for all the application. TWA makes sure that it checks all the checks all the marks, all the security marks, and everything that Google or Play Store
Okay.
installing the app has applied on it. It will make sure that it's correct, and then it can be installed.
Correct.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I think so. Now I've learned.
Yeah, that's
How-
why it's known as trusted web activities.
Trusted what
You know
TWA.
so much.
All right. So now we've learned how to make my web app work offline, how to make it installable on a phone, how to act, why I should do it, why I should not do it, loopholes I should avoid, right? I've learned how to implement it because that's like the biggest itch the developers have. So cool, it sounds fun. And but now I would like to know like the support aspect of it. Like, I think so there's issues with support as because Arindam brought out that iOS does not support, right? So
Yeah.
I want to know what are the support limitations for PWA. I think so it's first of all it's a browser dependency.
Correct.
Right? It does not work with every browser. So could you please like to elaborate on
Yeah,
that?
so you can still run an iOS. So my intention was iOS does not support in the sense you can't publish an like PWA as an IPA file or like as an IPA bundle in the Apple App Store,
Okay.
right? Through
Okay.
that test flight. But you can always run your PWA through your browser, right? So for example, think of this thing, Just Dial, right? If you are like using Just Dial from an this thing like iPhone as well, you can see the pop-up that add this application to your home screen.
Mhm.
Once you click that, it will like download the file and keep it there. And then next time once you open that will be the PWA file. But then it has some like added limitations to that. Like say
Okay.
for example, you can't send push notification. You can't see the app like launcher icon and so on. So yeah, there are limitations, and I believe like one good thing is like Apple is also sort of taking a policy where they are sort of giving scopes to PWA
Yeah, I think
to
so.
improve
Yeah.
and then to
So that's
sort
a-
of be compatible.
We'll
with
come to that.
Apple
That's a
icons.
very interesting topic. I want to jump in a bit more about that. Okay, cool. So I would also like to know. So now I've deployed my app, right? Okay. I want to know about the maintainability of a PWA. right? If there are updates to my, suppose, because I've registered the service broker in my web browser, right? Now, when there are, how does the update and the maintenance process of the PWA work? I'd like to know a bit more about that. If I just normally update my website, will it automatically update my PWA, or do I need to do something specific? How does that work? Could you please educate me on that?
Yeah, I mean 80% of the like task is done once you update your website if it is a PWA.
Okay.
The second thing is there are two ways to update, and I mean the other thing is to update your service worker, right? Because unless your service worker gets updated, the changes will not be reflected in your app. So there are two ways to do it. One is when the application is live, that is when user is using the application by sending some push notification, right, which triggers, and then the catch gets updated. I mean the service worker gets updated. The other thing is when it is closed. So when it is closed, the same thing you can happen. Like you can fire a background event, and then you can basically update your service worker. So the next time the user again opens the application, the service worker already gets updated, and hence you will be able to see the latest version of the updates, like whatever, like say you have changed some assets or some files. Those will be.
Anything you'd like to add there?
So as it's a website, all the UI and all the logic, or I mean most of the logic, will be updated on the fly because that's a website in general.
Correct.
And the website's just updates on the fly. Few things like assets, app icons, or let's say few things that I mentioned in maybe assets or manifest. Those things needs to be installed again because let's say if you're changing the app icon here and already present app icon that we're using in the older version won't reflect. That's when we need an extra update.
So I think so. I have a few more questions. So I would like to know as what the current state of PWAs and the future of PWA, because I think so, because current state being that iOS does not support, so that's a huge market that I'm losing out on, right? And the future sounds exciting because you told Apple is trying to support PWA. It's like thinking to provide her. So I'd like to know more about this. Could you please bombard me with some information on this space?
Yeah, obviously.
Where does PWA stand now?
It's a great question, but at the same time, it's tricky because right now, in 2022, even Apple is coming up with, Apple is showing interest. So we still don't know how much, at what extent they will go supporting PWAs. Because even they have trade-offs. Because even they want the users to feel every app as if it's an Apple because of the guidelines and everything. So yeah, I'm sure Apple will come into this, but till a limited way, not 100%, because it's nowhere near a native app. Even Apple knows it, right? So
Apple really does prioritize its user experience,
of course,
more than technology.
Yeah, exactly.
So design is everything that lies in the core of Apple. So by the way, I don't know, there is a very important topic coming in my mind. I just
sure.
I don't have time limitations. Sure. So do you know how that the swipe to unlock feature got invented? So it was invented by an Apple designer. So he was flying in an US domestic flight. He went to the washroom. So while the two teams were working, I know all of you know this story. That when the iPhone was getting designed, two teams were working. One was working on compressing the existing Macintosh OS, and the other team was working on basically building the new iPhone OS from scratch. And this team was always underdog. So this designer supposedly belonged from this team. So he was basically one day flying with a US domestic flight, and then his team was trying to come up with something which will denote that this has been unlocked. But it is not a lot of effort, right? So he went to the washroom and he just pulled down the door of the washroom by that.
Latch of the door.
That's where
the idea came, and then that's how it is.
That's interesting.
So Apple is known for the design specific things. But anyways, over to you. Continue.
That sounds fun. That's a fun story. Cool. So the future sounds interesting.
Yeah.
With Apple probably giving us more support for PW in the future.
I would rather say let's wait and watch, because it's been almost around 7 years now that PWA has been there, right? But it's not really been a game changer, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it has been improved. It has improved the user experience, especially for the web users. But then it's really not been a game changer, right? So if you look at technologies like React Native or Flutter, which are predominantly newer, they have they have gained a lot of market share on mobile applications domain. Whereas PWA is still not known for mobile application per se, right? So yeah, I'd say let's wait and watch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, a lot of companies, of course, have supported and come up and built.
I think that Twitter is a very good use case, right? I think so we should discuss on that.
Correct.
Twitter has a PW app which is installable. It has shortcuts,
Yeah.
and you can take a photo. You can click pictures. You can push notifications enabled
Right.
on it. That's a very good implementation. Is there any use case you'd like to pick up and talk? Or
Yeah, because the company did realize
Yeah.
that
and as
many
you
of
told,
the users,
they were
mentioned
able
some
to
great
untap.
data.
Yeah, data.
because they did realize that there are still there is a still market
Yeah.
with less data consumption and the less memory consumption.
And
That's
they were
why they
able
need to cover it.
And they were able
Yeah.
to improve customer retention
Yeah,
and
exactly.
acquisition of new customers.
Yeah.
That's actually good.
The main mobile app, they at one hand they want to increase the features in the main mobile app, and on the other hand they want to still retain the mobile users, which has less data consumption, less memory consumption. India is the biggest example of internet consumption and the less memory consumption. Correct. So they do want to tap on those market. So yeah, that's where they saw the opportunity, and exactly the PWA was their exact use case. Correct.
Awesome.
Yeah. Even a lot of food delivery startups
Yeah,
have come up with
exactly.
PWA version of the thing. Yeah.
So I think so.
Even Uber tapped in with
Uber
tapped
did
in.
it.
Uber,
Starbucks
Pinterest,
has tapped in.
Uber Lite
Uber
or
Lite.
something, yeah.
Awesome.
Mm.
Okay, so that's really been informative. Now, my final question before we wrap up. All right. Are there any recommendations you would give me if I'm going to be proceeding with the PWA? Anything that I need to especially take care for? Any other recommendation you'd provide me?
Yeah. To sum it up, the first thing will be depends on the use case. If it is hardware heavy, you can't go with PWA.
Okay.
That's a no. Let's say if you're making a game is a completely different thing.
Right.
Let's say there is specific use case of the app which requires hardware extensively. That's where we have to rethink about PWA, right? And the second thing will be UI. That's what we have been discussing completely.
Right.
And obviously the market cap.
So in addition to that, like learning path of PWA is quite easier with compared to the other frameworks or technologies, because it's not any other new thing to learn. It's not a technology. It's not a framework or a library. It's just some addition, like you can say, like add-ons to your existing web application to make it a PWA, right?
Yeah.
But then if you are gonna choose that or not, that completely depends on your use case. If it is feature rich, if it is something that it is gonna communicate with your native features a lot, then it's probably a no. If it is the like opposite, if it is probably some person, like some say for example 70 or 80% of your mobile application which you are gonna develop quickly and then make it publish, then probably it's a good way to go.
Awesome. Cool. So I think so that's been informative, and let's get to this new section that we recently added, the summary section of the talk show, where I'll try to attempt to wrap up everything that we've spoken about in about 120 seconds. All right. So shall I get a shot? If I slip
Please
up,
do.
please do
Please do.
add give your inputs if I do miss up.
Sure.
All right. So let's put 2 minutes on the clock. Cool. So, PWA, Progressive Web Applications. You can make your existing web applications work offline and install on your phone to enhance your user experience of the web application. So, it's as similar as that of a native app, right? So, that is a progressive web app. Cool. So, how would you do it? The implementation, why I would do it? Okay. The pros and cons. Okay. Pros and cons. Pros, if I have it's a single code base, it is easier to implement if I have an existing website, right? I am saving 30% of my revenue because I don't have to give to the app store. It suits my business use case, a lot of business use case if I'm a small startup. If I have a customer base where where my app is centric towards low internet consumption, and I want to sort of improve my customer retention, I think so I can go for a PWA app.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely.
Why I should avoid it? Well, there are downfalls as it is dependent on the platforms. It is browser specific. It has platform limitations because iOS does not support completely. Also, a cool fun fact is that I can make my web app get access to my phone's contacts,
Contacts.
Bluetooth, NFC,
Shortcuts.
shortcuts and other sensors and motion sensors to see whether Tarun is sitting in the washroom or he's actually walking around or coding.
I'm curious why are you curious about that?
Because he came on the latch, I want the next. Okay, yeah.
Apple designer.
Apple designer. Okay. Also, so let's come to the implementation of it. So I have an existing web application. How do I make it cool? So I have to go and see, take the Lighthouse test, and it will give me as to how I can improve the performance of my application. And once that is done, I need to add a service broker, which will help my app work offline. It will provide me a functionality about with caching and push notifications and so on. So for the entire working of my application of my web app offline. Then I need a manifest.json file which will list out the metadata, which will provide the metadata and additional information about the application. Also logos, obviously, because my designers work and have made beautiful logos that need to be appreciated. Awesome. And also drawbacks of PWA. I'm missing out. Come on, help me out. I've clearly crossed the 130 seconds. iOS.
The major is
iOS. The major is
Major
iOS.
is
And the future looks exciting. And this has been the talk show on PWA. I'd really like to thank my beloved guests, Arun and Random. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you.
I hope you guys had a pleasant and fun experience learning about something new. And now
You're a very charming host, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm looking forward to helping you make your web applications more awesome, more cool. And this is me, Shlok, and thank you for joining into the talk show. See ya. Bye-bye.